What's going on? This is gonna be my second video here on the channel, going over some beat deconstruction. This beat I worked on took me about, I don't know, I'd say like 2-3 days, something like that. But main reason it takes me so long to make beats is because I want to make sure they all sound cohesive. Yeah, I know I can make beats that take me a couple hours or whatever like that, but I usually like to go back and take a long time on them just to make sure they all sound really good, how I want them to sound. So we're gonna jump right into it here. So we're in FL Studio here, and I'm gonna play this out for you. So yeah. So boom, there we go. I think that sounds pretty good personally. So if you want to look back into the actual file here, as you can see, we got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 melodies going on here, as well as some drum bounds at the very bottom. A lot of melodies, but it all ties together pretty well. Coming all together, it sounds really, really good, I think so. So, I mean, obviously, others may think it doesn't sound good, but personally, I think it sounds good. That's all that really matters, right? So, moving on to the entire beat deconstruction itself. So to start off, what we have here, we have this main melody that goes out throughout the entirety of the beat here. The first section here, I have this audio track exported that I created. I reversed it, as we can hear from the very beginning. So let's go ahead and play that out. No special effects on it. Leading into the main melody. So boom, that sounds pretty good. Now, what I would like to say is that this melody was created using a stock VST from the Morphine VST, as we can see right here. If I go into this piano roll and show you guys what I've created, basically we have this simple pattern going on throughout. And that repeats itself, right? But with a few effects, we can see here in the mixer channel, I exported it and I added some filter, added some EQ, simple EQ, boosting some highs, taking out some lows, and some boosting some mids as well. And then this final EQ beat here boosts some mids and lowers the lower mids here a little bit more. Let me add this filter here, simple filter. So that's pretty much it. So the next melody we have here is like a sort of flute sort of melody. It goes really well with the piano that we saw in a couple seconds ago. So let's play this out. Moving on to the mixing, we got a simple EQ here, taking out some highs, keeping the lows a little bit, adding a filter, another EQ here to kind of tame those low ends, and a compressor as well, kind of balance the signal out. So our next melody that we have here is mainly for the chorus part of the beat, right? So listen to it. Now this comes from not a stock VST. This actually comes from an VST. I don't know how to pronounce this, but I don't know if it's pretty popular or not. However, I found out about it a few months back. They've been using it since, but it's a bell preset here. Kind of went into the mixer track, put some EQ on it, took out some lows, took out the highs a little bit, added some flanger, some phaser, then EQ'd it again just to make sure the signal stays clean. As we can see here, boosted some highs, took out some lows. So for the next melody, what we got is sort of like an oboe, like a flute, another flute sort of deal going on. To the mixer, some more EQ, some reverb, another EQ. And notice what I like to do is I always like to EQ my signal first just to clean it up a little bit. Then I add my effects to it, like reverb, etc. Right, so I added my EQ here, I reverbed it. Then after I reverb, I want to make sure I clean up the signal again. So I took out a little bit of the lows here, and going into the high range frequencies, I boosted just a little bit. Then in the super high range, I took out all those frequencies. So for the next melody, what we got here is sort of like a counter piano to our main piano that we got going on. So let's listen to it. This comes from Harmer. It's a bell preset there. Sounds pretty good, I think. Going into the effects, I don't know why it displays as FL keys. Sometimes whenever you do it, it displays it as something else, but not too much. Just a simple EQ. Took out some lows, took out some highs as well, kept the mid-range the same. So for the next melody, what we got is a simple bell. Let's listen to it. And notice I took the same notes here, layered them 1 octave down. We got some EQ going on, we got some delay going on, got some phaser, reverb, another EQ here, taking out some of the highs and a lot of the lows, a filter, another phaser, then finally one more EQ to kind of clean up the entire signal as a whole. And we got this sort of post chorus melody going on here. First sound here is sort of a pad, but it has a lot of effects on it, pretty cool effects, so let's listen to it. It repeats itself. So moving into the mixer track, added some simple EQ, some phaser, some filter, and then some gross beat. Now the gross beat is the most interesting part. So basically what I did here is I went in and used this tremolo. This is how you pronounce that. Yeah, tremolo preset here. But I edited it a little bit to my liking. And essentially what I got here is I got this sort of like ducking and increase in volume, kind of speeds up over time. So it sounds like it's, I don't know, glitchy or whatever, if you will, but it sounds pretty good. So boom, moving on to the next melody here, what we got is this another bell sort of like melody, just to support this pad that we just had laid out. So let's listen to it. You can probably already tell it's half timed, but sounds pretty good. Sounds really good. We got some EQ here laid out. You see I kind of cleaned this up really nicely here. Took out some of these mid-range frequencies that were peaking. Added 2 delays. I'm not sure why I added 2 delays there, but hey, c'est la vie, right? Some filter, some phaser, then this gross beat here. I didn't have the halftime plugin at the time, so I had to use gross beat to compensate. However, works the exact same way. Then we have this EQ here to kind of clean up the signal as a whole. Right, so that sounds pretty good. Then we have this sort of like sub bass sort of melody going on here. Simple keys laid out. Oops. Took out all the highs, kept the lows though. Now what I think really makes this beat pretty special is this perk loop that I have laid out here. So let's give it a listen. That sounds crazy. That's crazy. So cool thing about this is that if we go here to my 10th pattern, we can see I have all this stuff laid out. So if I play this out, this is how it sounded before I added my effects in. Like Jesus Christ. It's all about trusting the process. So added some EQ to it, took out the lows, kept the highs the same, some reverb, some delay, and finally some more EQ at the very end just to clean it up a lot more. That kind of adds on to the drum bounce that I created here. So let's move on to the drums. So moving on to the 808, we got a not so complicated pattern here, but it adds a lot of movement going on, a lot of bounce, a lot of rhythm going on. So let's listen to it. The kick is going to follow the 808, so every time the 808 hits, the kick is going to come in. Simple kick pattern. So for our open hats, if you listen closely, you'll be able to hear that one hat is reversed versus the other. I have one normal open hat, as we can see here, and our other open hat is actually reversed, right? We can see that right here. It's very subtle, but if you listen pretty closely, you'll be able to hear it. Sounds pretty good. Simple clap pattern that's layered with a snare. No effects except for compression, just to even out the signals a little bit more. Then we added this counter snare, gives it a little bit more of a bounce. We added this triangle as well, give it more of a bounce. This hi-hat pattern. And that's pretty much it. So you probably noticed from the mixer track that I'm all over the place in terms of my mix, but I'm learning, you know, the more I make beats, the better I get at mixing and everything. However, like I said, it took me a long time to make this beat. I took a lot of time on it. Eventually I got the mix correct, even though it looks pretty hectic as we saw. But if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I'm gonna try and upload more of these videos throughout the year. Kind of make that one of my resolutions, is to kind of get my name out there, you know. But yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new, and I'll try and upload more of these throughout the year. So yeah, peace.